This is We Kalled It. Super wildcard weekend was just as anticipated. The tight games led to a lot of great matchups, incredible comebacks. We started off with the Rams and the Panthers. Are the Rams overhyped? Because the Panthers, I know, aren't good and almost beat them. Packers blew it, and Caleb Williams showed his shine in the second half. What's going to happen to Matt LaFleur? Jacksonville versus Buffalo. That was quite the nail biter, and that should have been Jacksonville's game, followed by a fantastic comeback from the Niners. And then we, of course, ended with the two worst games on the night, the Chargers versus the Patriots. And lastly, the Texans versus the Steelers. I forgot because that game was so boring and didn't even care about it. Anyways, it only cost Mike Tomlin his job. Ken, I can't wait to talk about all the games. We also have more coaching stuff to talk about. What's going to happen with Tomlin? McDaniel's out since the last time we talked. Will Matt LaFleur lose his job because of the choke game against the Bears? A lot of exciting stuff from one weekend of football.
It seems like Phil has a whole lot more to talk about than me, but I got to disagree with him on something there. Those last two games, the Sunday night and Monday night, really were not super horrible. There was not a lot of scoring. It was definitely ugly, but it was a pretty close game right up until at least like the midway through the third quarter for the Chargers. But then the Monday night game was 7-6 going into the fourth quarter. Once again, not the most exciting thing to watch, but if you like a good like defensive battle, it's the, hey, dominant versus moving the ball with a lot of turnovers actually was not too bad if you're not looking at offenses. Those offenses were absolutely terrible.
Number one, if you see me peeking around on the camera, it's because I'm checking out. Cooper's over here. I might need to pick him up and hold him. He might get upset. 2, Ken loves 3 and outs. Only person in the world who likes to watch football, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And CJ Stroud not know how to hold on to a ball. He had like 4 fumbles in the first half. Absolutely atrocious.
I absolutely love watching the Houston Texans defense. Yes. Watching them, and I can't remember who was commentating. Was it Troy Aikman who was just like, they're not doing anything special. It's just that Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are that good. They just come straight at the quarterback, and there is no time for, I felt bad for Aaron Rodgers. Man, it was just quite amazing how much like two players completely stopped an entire offense.
Yeah. Connor mentioned it a couple of weeks ago where it's like, yeah, they have the pleasure of rushing 4 and getting pressure nonstop and dropping 7 in coverage with 2 great corners on the back end. I'm going to say I'm pretty upset. I had a parlay of Hunter and Anderson to get a sack, and they combined for 1.5 because Will Anderson's I'm laying on the ground and tripped Aaron Rodgers. I got pulled away from him. It started out at he got 1 and slowly ticked down to he got half and then 0. So otherwise I would have hit. Anyways. It was tragic watching it disappear. Okay, so with that, Ken, we will start with wildcard weekend. Rams versus Panthers. Honestly, I feel like the Rams, this is just one of those 9 and 8 teams on 100, and it was kind of one of those games where it's risky. Rams are super favored to win. Panthers playing with house money and comes out closer than you expect. But I don't downgrade the Rams for what we saw.
Closer than you expect. They were up 3 or up 4. Yeah, I think it was up 3 with like 3 minutes left or something like that. And they're just like, nope, we need just to chuck it to Puka for the rest of the game. And it worked just fine.
Did you think Stafford wasn't going to win?
I'll tell you, my live bets would tell you that, no, I really, really thought he was going to win. But, no, the one interesting thing that I saw, the Rams looked great to start the game. And then there was that injury to Stafford's finger, and you're like, oh God, like throwing hand finger injury would be the saddest way to completely like deflate a team. And like, if he can't throw, then he can't throw. But something was clearly off, and it took him a long time. I think immediately after he had that injury, he was like 2 of 11 in his next 11 throws. So obviously he figured it out more so at the end. X-rays came back negative, so it really shouldn't be too bad moving forward. I'm not concerned with it being an injury that's going to affect him down the road, especially if they can get past the Bears, which I think they will.
Yeah. All right. So let's actually talk about the Bears then. Packers-Bears, Saturday night, lived up to the hype of a rivalry game in the playoffs. I can't believe the Packers 21-3. And then I think on their next 4 drives after halftime, they combined for a total of 2 yards and like 8 plays. It was really, really bad and opened the door for Caleb Williams to come back and, win the second half 26.
I mean, you definitely get some bad luck in there. And the odd part is that this team with Josh Jacobs running the ball and the Bears not being able to stop drives, it didn't make sense. They should have been able to minimum move the ball enough. And I mean, I think you're missing, what was it? Was it two field goals or an extra point and two field goals, or
He
two field goals and an
missed,
extra point?
missed a field goal at half, missed like a chip shot field goal late in the fourth, and then missed the extra point on the Packers' last touchdown. So yeah,
Yeah.
7 points off the board.
Would have been nice. Yeah. I just just an absolute, like, everything has to go wrong, and it did for the Packers. I don't know why. I still just don't believe in this Bears team. They have proven that they are like, "Hey, we can fight, we can come back, we can make the offense move in the second half." I mean, he looked okay throwing to like Roma Dunze. In the first half, you saw it. It's like at one point they showed he was like one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks. And in the game, he was like, same thing. It was like a 38% completion percentage in the first half. Caleb Williams just did not look like he had it. And then second half, it's like totally different guy out there. So, fun to watch if you're a Bears fan. But I think the Packers, they were on a really 2-game losing streak going in. I don't count that last game where they benched everybody. But now they get a real test with the LA Rams. So I think it's been a fun ride.
The Bears were 2-3 in their last 5 games, only beaten the Browns and when they recovered an onside kick against the Packers. I don't think they were like shocking the world running into the playoffs. Also, to your point of 7 points off the board for the Packers, if the game was 14-3 at half, would you have felt any differently? Like, I probably would be a little bit lower on the Packers, but I thought they had complete control and drive throughout the whole game. So the only thing is Matt LaFleur constantly being thrown under the bus for stuff like this. When he's like, you get the analytics people online and the coaching people. Like, it's the one area where both the extremes agree, and it's the middle people who are like, we got to get this guy out because he loses. But it's like, no, coaching, he does a great job throughout the year. Analytics people, he has a top 5 offense. And I just look at it and I'm like, why can he not regularly succeed for this team? Like, all their losses were they massively underperformed on offense, but it's still super efficient. And Jordan Love's a top 5 quarterback or something like that by advanced metrics. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't think you should fire LaFleur, but he's got to figure out his in-game coaching. And if Jordan Love's going to be his guy, he's got to put more trust in him to like those third quarters instead of being so conservative where it's run, check down. It's like, let the guy continue to air the ball out to your receivers and what was being successful in the first half. Anyways, as someone who had the Packers and a 5-leg parlay of all the teams to win, he thought would win, but the Packers being the only one to miss, that was tragic.
I mean, Jordan Love, he was 24 of 46, which is just pretty ridiculous. But 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, and it just didn't look like it. I don't know what it was. Like, he puts up these stats and I just like don't see it. I mean, yeah, he threw a few good passes to Romeo Dobbs, and I just really like his chemistry with Christian Watson. But man, I don't know what it is. It's just something missing. Like, they're missing that, like, it factor, that movement, like that Jordan Love taking the next step. I know advanced metrics say he's already done it, but I just, to the average fan out there, it just doesn't look like it. I don't know.
So, excuse me. I feel like that's a LaFleur thing. His job is to get him there. Like, he's the offensive mind, and your team is successful. Like the Lions game on Thanksgiving when Jordan Love was virtually unstoppable. That was incredible. He's regularly like that, but I don't know. I don't get why their offense is either explosive or nothing, like we saw in the first half. 3 touchdown drives, 70 plus yards, or 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Like, that's how you open up the door for teams to come back, which is the biggest problem. Anyways, don't fire him. I don't think he should even be on the hot seat with how young and talented this team is, but he's really got to figure out his in-game play calling. And when he's leading, don't give it up so much.
Stop letting the other team win when you're losing. Oh yeah, that was the crazy stat I saw. They were 6-3 in games where they were up by 10 with less than 5 minutes to go. And now, first off,
so
the fact
bad.
that there were 9 games where you're up by 10 with less than 5 minutes in a season is pretty crazy. But they lost 3 games, and in the last like 20 years or something like that, the Packers had lost 1 game, like up 10 with less than 5 minutes left.
Exactly.
It's nuts.
Anyways, as for the Bears, we've trashed Caleb Williams a lot and hyped Ben Johnson and what he can do. I think in trashing Caleb Williams, I don't know, and even then we don't even trash his like abilities. We trashed his regular quarterbacking. But I think it's sometimes you forget how special he is at doing, things other people can't do. And that was just on display, like in the comebacks, slinging the ball over the fields, making crazy throws that were just next level. I think there was a 4th down to Odunze that
Yep.
like
4th and 8.
it changed the game to convert that and make it happen. So,
The game was over if he didn't complete that.
yeah. Yeah. So I am just, it's so frustrating to see someone who's like, if you do the little things regularly, will be extremely successful. Instead, it's like, all right, we got this high risk, but anyways, very, very bright future for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams if they can start to like develop him into becoming that guy.
I still think he misses too many, just, I don't want to say easy throws. I don't know how many easy throws there are in the NFL, but like he misses throws that he just should hit. Like if you're that caliber of a quarterback, you should just not miss open receivers, and he does it. It's crazy.
Yeah, agreed. That's Josh Allen couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, and they used him as a running back for 3 years. Bills versus Jags. I thought this game was the Jags for the taking, and they blew it in the first half. Missed opportunities, fumbled kickoff, got the ball at the 30, and went for it on 4th and 2, gave the Bills back the ball without scoring any points. And then marching on the drive prior to that, threw an interception, I think inside the 30, and just completely choked the game away. And then the second half, it was just too close, and Josh Allen made it happen. I saw the Bills are down to like 3 wide receivers on their depth chart due to all the injuries and everything just completely collapsing them. Brandon Cooks burned us at 60 and 70 yards plus. There was 58 was right there with the drops.
58 was a hard one, man.
With a pass that was overturned and then one that was open down the sideline that I think if he just hits that one would have covered most of it. Anyways, I'm complaining, but the Bills did not, I don't think they looked good at all. Their offense didn't move efficiently. The defense was better than I expected, but the Jags still did a lot more than I thought. I don't know. I feel like the Bills they looked like a Patrick Mahomes team from last year or 2 years ago, where it's just like, we're hanging on and it's close in the fourth quarter and our quarterback's better than yours and we came back and won. Sorry to Liam Cohen and the Jags. Great year, and if they can build on it, good for them. But, they're the Jags. They probably won't.
Yeah. The Jags offense killed Buffalo Bills defenses all year. I'm just in terms of just if they just took advantage of poor play. The Bills defense, I'd say stepped up, but I really don't think so. I think this is more the Jags they played down to that level, and you just can't let Josh Allen hang around. They missed some field goals, untimely interceptions, and you'd have less room for error against Josh Allen. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Bills do against the Broncos next week here.
All right, next up, last game I have anything really real to say about Niners Eagles. Congrats to the Niners. You made your defense look like the 49ers defense with a full roster because of how bad the Eagles were. Like the OC got fired this week for a reason, or today, for a reason. And I think Brock Purdy's looks good. Christian McCaffrey did a lot, but when you look at the box score, I think Demarcus Robinson lit it up. And even if you take away his 61-yard catch, it's like Demarcus Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk doing all the work for the 49ers. This team is literally on its last legs and just doing everything it can to hang around. The Seahawks, I feel like, are just going to defensively stomp on them. And who knows if Sam Darnold can, have a heartbeat and just win 3-0 if he has to. But we'll see. Very tragic for the Niners. But that Juwan Jennings trick play, I sent a message. It was beautiful. The whole drive that led up to it, and you thought I was crazy for overhyping Kyle Shanahan on it, but I disagree. If you look at the drive, the Kyle Juszczyk, his best catch was 27 yards. It was on a delayed release. like on that drive. And then they did the Sky Moore end around. And the final play was the Sky Moore end around reversed to Jawan Jennings pass. If you look, McCaffrey blocked and chipped and then went out because they saw it worked against with the use check. And then they ran the Sky Moore play just to do the misdirection later. We hype up Kyle Shanahan. I think it's stuff like that that just makes him different. So you can think I'm crazy and that I juice him up too much. But I thought that that's like, hey, we saw something and we have a play. Let's set this whole thing up and make a, one last ditch effort to score a touchdown because we're fighting here and it's not going well.
I think it was just completely like changing up the game plan. I mean, you miss George Kittle, and it's like, how many weapons do you need to be down? I mean, this team, Trent Williams playing with one hamstring. I mean, you had to pull out all the stops. They did, and yeah, it looked good enough to beat the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles defense is good, but I got to tell you, it's Robert Saleh and that defense of 3 linebackers that they picked up off the street in the last 2 weeks beat the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl incumbent champions offense. Because, I mean, yeah, there were some A.J. Brown drops. That was 3 plays, though. And they were, the Eagles were running the ball, and the running game did not look too bad. But for the fact that they could not sustain any real drives against this team, especially in the second half, it's just what the Eagles have done all year. And we're like, it's not going to happen because the 49ers defense is that bad. I really think that Robert Saleh really showed why he's actually another NFL head coach candidate. And I was against it last week. This week, I was like, you know what? I mean, offensively, defensively, they pulled out all the stops. So great game. And they now get like the next level up version of the Eagles with a team that has an elite defense and then an offense that's a little bit limited. But actually, I don't think it's as limited as the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles on 3rd and 4th down were 8 for 21. That doesn't consider like overlap of 3rd going into 4th down. But I brought it up last week where it's like the 49ers may not play well, but if they get you in an advantageous spot, they call the right play, they know what you're going to do, and they just stop it. So that's great. I mean,
yeah, except for they gave up like 2 or 3 like third and fins, and it's like, man,
sometimes you get out
so deflating.
Those 3rd and 5s though, they were ready for.
Yeah,
you don't scheme defense for 3rd and 13. Jalen Hurts really lived up to the hype of if I throw it 5 or 50 yards, I don't throw it in between. That hurt a lot. I will say I love there's a breakdown of Nick Foles laughing or mocking how bad the 4th down call was for them. They're like, that is the most like expected play. It's 4 verticals. That's all it was. Like Madden people use it all the time. And then you throw it to Goddard making a move in the middle. And he's like, you should do little things elsewhere. Like once they overplay Goddard in the middle, throw it to A.J. Brown on like a stop route or something. But I don't know. Anyways, great breakdown by Nick Foles on that. Terribly bad for the Eagles. I mean, they had a good Saquon game and still couldn't get it done. So the Eagles should have won the Super Bowl if they had good offensive coaching was my takeaway from that.
Did you? There was a real bad interview with that was Kevin Paluto.
Yeah, Patullo.
Patullo, yeah, and it was with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's like, "You guys just don't, see the intricacies of this. It's like this offense. It wasn't me that like messed it up, and it's really hard, and I'm getting the blame for a lot of stuff." I was like, "Dude, stop talking." It was horrible. Like
we saw the offense the last 5 years. Like there's a bit of a difference.
I did see something also though. It was hilarious. Where it was like Puka Nacua is just A.J. Brown with 100% effort on every play, and I laughed so hard because I was like,
it's pretty true. It's so funny because, gosh, A.J. Brown. The fact that in our group chat, there was a message saying, I don't want A.J. Brown on the Browns. It's just wrong. That's exactly the receiver we need. I don't care if he's a head case.
I completely disagree. I don't want that guy.
Why not?
Why? Because we had him already. We had Odell Beckham Jr. on our team.
No. A.J. Brown's good.
Phil, I don't okay. If you had cancer in your body and you got it out, would you want to put more cancer back in?
Listen. All right. A.J. Brown is in what, like, He's sitting in, like, everyone looks and it's like this bar and it's beautiful and it's called heaven, right? And that's just the name. And you go in and it's actually hell. That's what he's sitting in. His quarterback can't throw him, like, routine good passes, not in time, and he's not getting good play calls. I don't know. I feel like if I'm him, I'm just like, guys, I could scheme a better offense. And this is painful to watch. Like, you go, mid-park high school basketball my senior year, they literally, from the second of tip-off, they knew they couldn't outscore teams, so they held the ball as long as they could to minimize the number of possessions until defenses started to pressure them.
First off, that wasn't just your senior year. That was before then, too. And they won a playoff game 10-6
Who?
with Eric Way holding the ball.
Did they really? Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's the other guard, too. I can't remember his name.
Anyways, no, but it's like, that's what A.J. Brown is sitting. He's like, guys, I can do so much more than score 8 points. We're just going to try this and see if it works. Cooper will be a guest star for a minute.
That's all right.
You might hear him.
We talked about it off air here. And yeah, A.J. Brown's contract is not tradable. And I'm fine with that. A.J. Brown is the type of guy, if he's on your team, you say, yes, we're going to try to make it work because wide receiver talent is limited in the NFL. And the top tier talent does make that much of a difference, unless, of course, you were Justin Jefferson on the Vikings this year. So A.J. Brown, I think he's staying there. If they're going to get a new offensive coordinator, who wouldn't want to be the offensive coordinator for that team, unless they really, really think that Jalen Hurts is actually that limited. And that may be a possibility. Yes, Super Bowl MVP, completely crushed Kansas City twice in 2 Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts could actually be limited because, yeah, that offense looked awful. There were 2 games this year where he had 0 passing yards in the second half. It's you just don't see that. You don't even see that on the Browns.
You don't talk smack about Mr. 3000. He's thrown for about 3,000 yards the last 2 years.
I mean, the thing is,
it should be a number.
I could make a solid argument that Devonta Smith is a better receiver than A.J. Brown. They have so many weapons on that team. They should, and they have a great defense. He should get 3,000 yards. He should get 4,000 yards every year.
Easily. Yeah. But 3,000 is not a lot, is my point.
No.
For a team as stacked as they are, it should be, like you said, very easy. Run up your numbers. All right. Last 2 games. If you want to talk about them, go ahead. Chargers.
We talked about them in the beginning. We're fine.
Anyways, Chargers. The only thing I will say is they got rid of Greg Roman. Fantastic move. We saw when they were a pass-heavy offense early in the year, they looked great, but then they defaulted back over time to the Greg Roman. We're going to run the ball 20 times up the middle for 1 yard, and it just fell apart when they were using the shell of Amarian Hampton and Kamani Vidal. So getting their offensive line back, I'm excited for the Chargers. Like, under Harbaugh, they've looked fantastic, and I really hope they bring in someone smart on offense to make that pop. They need a new weapon. I don't like Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen as the anchors of my offense. I like Ladd McConkey, but they need a true one. So I'm curious what they do and how they go about filling out this roster. But excited for the Chargers long term.
I thought Trey Harris looked all right. Keenan Allen was definitely, he's more of a stopgap than anything. And he looked great at the beginning of the year and just wheels fell off. Their running back situation just shows how replaceable running backs are. Kamani Vidal was on their team and they cut him like the beginning of the year. And they're like, oh, too many injuries, come on back. And he actually, at one point, was one of their most key players on their offense, which is not good. And especially against or behind a broken line. So the Pats, we are not giving them their roses, man, because they absolutely were like, oh, they played bad people. They looked pretty good against a solid team. They looked pretty good against a solid defense in the Chargers. So yeah, they got to do it. 2 more times, 3 more times. But I mean, we'll see. They've stepped up to the challenge every time. I think it'll be a good game this week.
You say they looked good. I am not a fan. Their passing game was bad, in my opinion. I mean, you had 2 passes go for 90 yards, one to Ramondre Stevenson out of the backfield. Keyshawn Boot was a nice deep ball, but it's like, for having the MVP at quarterback, you did not move the ball, and you left the door way too open for Justin Herbert to make 1 or 2 plays. And I don't like carrying that risk with me, which
Calm
is
down. He's not the MVP.
I need him to be. Lastly, we will quickly cover this. Texans at Steelers. This game went exactly how I thought it would. Extremely low scoring, extremely influenced by the defense of the Texans. The only thing I thought was disappointing was CJ Stroud. I thought for the first half, he looked awful. And he had a killer throw to Christian Kirk that it might have set up their scoring drive. I can't remember. But that was about it. I thought in general he was very disappointing, which is not good for, me hyping them as one of the teams I want to win the Super Bowl.
That's exactly it. And let's be real, the Steelers shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They're better teams. So they were in a nice division.
Yep. All right. Let's move on then. We are going to talk about the football that is going to happen this week. 4 divisional round games. We'll be making picks on all these and everything. So we start Saturday, 4:30, Buffalo at Denver. What are your thoughts? You go first.
So when I first looked this up, it was the Bills plus 1.5 this morning, I think. And now it's Bills, is it minus 1.5? They've already flipped. Is that correct? Is that what you have?
Yep.
And yep, I'm going to go right with them on this one. And we saw what happened to the Broncos last year in the playoffs. I just don't think that Bo Nix can hang with Josh Allen. Yes, this Denver defense is good. This Denver defense is very good. But this is just a game where I'm just trusting in Josh Allen versus, we've talked about it, Broncos look like a great defense with a fluke offense. And I just don't think they'll be able to keep up. And I think that Josh Allen can himself just muster 24 points. And I think that's what it's going to take to beat him.
Yeah. So I'm pulling up right now Broncos stats. They won. Minute. Pro Football Reference. It gets way too many ads when you start it. They won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 one-score games. That doesn't count, the Chargers in Week 18 when that was 19-3, and Chargers were resting their guys, but the Broncos still looked like they were struggling. Anyways, that's all to say. I just said you can't leave the door open for Josh Allen in the playoffs, right? Like that's what happened with the Jags. They made a couple mistakes, left the door open, and Josh Allen's like, no, I'm winning this. If you remember, like the throw to Brandon Cooks was absolutely amazing on that last drive where it's like 36 yards in the air. He got hit in the face and made a read right away and hit Cooks, not in stride, but he was clearly open. So can't leave that door open. I think he makes the 1 or 2 plays that you need to. You need to be up by 10 points in the fourth quarter in order to walk away. And I don't think Bo Nix and the Broncos offense are ready to do that. I think they'll make way too many mistakes. I don't like the run game as much with just RJ Harvey back there. I like Harvey, but Dobbins I just thought much better throughout the year, even on his beat up legs. So Dobbins was averaging 5 yards a carry. Harvey's just 3.7. The receiving options on the Broncos, like Courtland Sutton is a player, but that's where the Bills shine on defenses. They have solid DBs. Jags forced them to pressure the run and ease up on their coverage. Troy Franklin, Courtland Sutton, so the run game I don't think is going to be there, and then I don't think Sutton and Franklin are going to be able to just overcome what the Bills have to offer.
Yeah.
I hate it. I talked the Bills down previously, and then I just talked myself back into them.
I got to tell you, Tre'Davious White turned back the clock that last game. He had a couple like pretty key pass breakups, man. He looked pretty good. I do.
Yeah, and
I mean, if they slow down the Jags, I know Trevor Lawrence didn't have a good game, but that Jags offense had looked better than the Broncos all year. I definitely think that they even matched up better against the Bills. So if the Bills defense can play some playoff defense like they did last week, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have San Fran at Seattle. Talked about this slightly, but just RIP San Fran players. Like this, you need a Kyle Shanahan masterpiece and Mike McDonald to look like a fool in the playoffs and Clint Kubiak to look like a fool on one of their first trips to the playoffs. I can't see any other way for San Fran to win this besides out coaching. Brock Purdy, I think he is proving more and more that he is like this very clutch player and can make all the plays necessary. but I don't think he's one of those guys that can carry a team if not given the Shanahan structure. So he needs Shanahan to get him 80% of the way and then him to finish off drives with, a couple. I'm running around a little and I make a right play, or I know when to make a run. But yeah, it's just sad that it's coming down to this, that San Fran is going to be, who knows if Ricky Pearsall plays. They definitely need him with George Kittle out. Otherwise, we're going to have another Demarcus Robinson, Kyle Juszczyk attack.
Sam Darnold, I mean, he's looked awful against the pass rush, and there's going to be no pass rush because the 49ers, I think they got to Hurts a couple times this past game. We already talked about how limited that offense was. Their cornerback, that Lenore, actually followed A.J. Brown around the field. I don't know if he needed to, but he might have just been seeing what that looks like for JSN, honestly. So if they can slow down JSN, I think they have a shot. I mean, the line's 7. That's pretty huge in the playoffs here. I actually think the 49ers can keep it within 7 because I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to kick a lot of field goals because that's what Sam Darnold does. Sam Darnold moves the ball and then can't get it in the end zone. And I unfortunately think that'll be enough.
Yeah. And last year with the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell was aggressive in those situations, trying to go for those fourth downs. We've seen Seattle pump the brakes immediately and be like, Darnold, don't blow this. All right. I'm not even going to give you the opportunity. Fourth and third and inches. Let's kick the field goal. Let's get it over with.
They're bringing in Myers on 3rd and 12 just in case.
Yeah, don't want any risk here. So it's just sad that that's the state of the Niners. I like them a lot. Even with Kittle, I would think this is exciting. If Pearsall and Kittle were back, then you have questions of how do you at least manage that defense. Trent Williams was obviously huge, and he wasn't there in their last game. But yeah, it might be 13 or 10 is all the Seahawks need. I agree with you. If it was a betting side, 7.5 is what I would take with the Niners.
I do like the under in that game for obvious reasons as well.
All right, moving over Sunday, 3:00, Houston at New England. This is tough. We just saw a good defense smother New England, and New England's defense stepped up, but I saw betting people all in on the Chargers at plus 3.5. And I was like, that game was, I think you picked Chargers plus 3.5 and I liked it at first. But the more I thought about it, that Chargers offense was really crippled. And it got to the point where Hampton had 1 rush for -1 yards. It just, between the offensive line and Herbert, the receivers were there, but if you can't block or do anything, the offense isn't functioning. So I don't know if the Patriots played a real NFL offense last week. I am scared of the Texans offense after what CJ Stroud showed, how low his floor can be. But at the same time, if their defense can continue to produce, the Patriots might be looking at 10-3 going into the fourth quarter. And that's a lot scarier with CJ Stroud and Nico Collins on the other side than with, Herbert and no offensive line.
Yeah, I think this game's all actually on CJ Stroud because Vrabel, he's going to look at that game and be like, okay, let's make him make mistakes because they did that. I don't even know what happened. They messed up the snap, I think, 3 times, let alone him just holding on to the ball too much.
There was one where it hit his hands. He dropped it, picked it up, went to throw it, dropped it.
Yeah.
Just bad.
But especially in a close playoff game, you just got to know just to sit on it and take it for a loss. I don't know. The Pats, they're right there with the Broncos for me, where I'm like, I still don't trust you. And I love this Houston defense. And I don't know if they can, believe it or not, I think the big difference maker for them is Hunter Henry. He gets these big 3rd down conversions, or if the offense is going stagnant, he gets a 15-yard catch. He's just one of those perennially underrated tight ends. And the Texans do not let any receiver do anything to them, and they get a good pass rush. So I don't think that this is a good Travion Henderson game. I don't think this is a good Ramondre game. They don't give up explosives. So it'll be interesting to see if they can slow it down. I'm going with Houston because I just want to see this defense keep going. So I'll take a few points with them. Keep it close.
Yeah, Houston plus 3 is the betting side, according to the Action Network. 63% of bets. I'm going to go with I'm just going to take the points in this game where I think it's another low scoring one. Like 13-12 seems plausible on this. But if I'm right, if we're both right on this and Houston pulls out the money line win, and I'm right, and we're right about the Bills too, like those were my top 2 picks coming into the postseason. Just saying. I think
I'm pretty sure you did, but then you also picked the Patriots to win it all.
I picked the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. I said my favorite 2
I'm
AFC
right
teams.
either way.
In my rankings, it was Bills, Texans, Patriots, Jags. And then I'm like, yeah, but I would take the Patriots to win the Super Bowl just because Boston's lucky. And that we're gonna see
You've been
them
right
up.
so far.
They're gonna be down 3 with like a minute left. CJ Stroud's gonna fumble and kneel down, and the Patriots are gonna win. All right, last game of the weekend: Rams versus Bears. Bears are 4-point home underdogs. I saw a funny tweet. I think Alex Smith reportedly said Rams are going to be putting up 50 points this week. And the bottom line is, it's like, I get Sean McVay. I get the fully functioning offense. They're not going to pull their punches in the third quarter. I think Rams steamroll here.
That stinks, because I think I already said that at the beginning. But no, I think the magic just has to run out for the Bears. Like, they've looked awful for first halves. I don't think they can do that against the Rams. I think the McVay will run the clock out on you successfully in the second half. And I just don't think that the Bears defense has an answer for the Rams. They might put up the points. Like, they might put up a crazy second half, because how could I say they don't? They've just done that all year. But I don't think that they're going to be able to keep up. I think this is just punching out of their league. That's all it is. I like the Rams. And they were my Super Bowl pick, so I'm sticking with them.
There you go. I like that commitment. I need the Seahawks and the Bills. Anyways, all right, cool. That's we agreed way too much on our breakdowns of those games. I feel like it's kind of we're related, and we talk all year about these teams, and it kind of converges over time.
Maybe I've been saying Rams since week 6. I just want to let everybody know.
I'm still,
when they were the best team.
I want
the
field. I needed to be contrarian. I was picking the 49ers all this time, and
now you're like, forget it.
Well, I got the JV 49ers now. It's not as good. All right. All right, so we're at 45 minutes. That gives us 15 for Coach Talk. First reactions. I'm curious your thoughts on the Steelers firing Tomlin. Yeah, we'll do Steelers firing Tomlin and then Dolphins firing McDaniel.
So I think that at some point you just kind of get coaches fatigue. Coaches are just, they're so, they change up all the time. And especially if you're a team that is a perennial loser, coaches are the number one hated guy. And if you go, 13 wins one year, next year you get 5, guess what? Everybody wants to coach out. And everything's always the coach's fault. Your offense can look good. And if your head coach calls the plays, people are going to complain about play calling. That's just what happens, unless you have Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen, because then all of a sudden every play looks great. But I think that the Steelers just got coaches fatigue. I think that they continue to supersede expectations despite their roster. And it is just clearly Tomlin he's winning these close 50-50 games. They're doing it more often than other teams. They're just perennially winning somewhere between 9 and 10 or 11 games.
9 and 9.5.
9 and 9. I think they were 10. They had 10 and 7.
They did. They
I
were
assume
10 and 7.
that I'm missing an 11 win game somewhere in there. I don't know. But I think that, when that says he steps down, I don't exactly know what that means. I want to let
you know, Stefanski, quote unquote, stepped down too.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't. I saw the firing.
It's his agent reporting that they mutually broke up.
Tomlin's still under contract. I know that we were just talking about beforehand, and teams would actually have to trade for Tomlin to have him have a position. So I don't really know how that works.
I know he walked away. That means legitimately he
actually walked away,
close to resigning versus parted ways. Typically, you'd let him out of his contract if you were firing him.
I see. So yeah, I never. I got to tell you, when reading through everything, nothing I saw was mutually parted ways. That's something you see all the time.
That was That was the posting on, the classic Facebook and
Mhm.
Twitter, his face, mutually parted ways.
Yeah, but I think he's done a good job. I think he wins close games. I think he's one of those culture guys. I think he's a guy that the players get behind. And I know, the most classic thing whenever I think of Tomlin is him trying to trip that kick returner,
Yep.
uh, and be like, "What? I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about." uh, they still lost that game, and I was really happy about it. But I mean, his team gets behind him. I think he's a good coach. I just think that it just gets stagnant when you keep making the playoffs and you keep not going anywhere with them. Not looking at, hey, the best quarterback I've had in the last 7 years is a completely crippled Roethlisberger, or oh, my elite defense has turned into very, very average old defense. Nobody seems to look at that. No one seems to care what you're doing with that roster.
No, so I completely agree. I actually think this is a really good time to move on for Tomlin. To your point, he is very good at getting bad players to be average, like, and he's very good at maintaining egos, like we saw it with AJ or Antonio Brown. The fact that he got like 8 All Pro seasons out of Antonio Brown, who couldn't breathe like in another uniform, was just fantastic. What was it like? He was on the Patriots for 2 weeks, and like, yeah, we're just not dealing with this. Anyways, he didn't even play for the Raiders after he got traded there because he burned his feet or something. Burned his feet in an ice tub. Funny. Anyways, so yeah, fantastic at that. And to your point, Rodgers is likely riding off into the sunset now because why would he play for that team? He might go to the Vikings, but he's not going to be. Their quarterback situation's a mess. Is the main point. Defensively, they're old, and like TJ Watt's turning 32 or going to be 33 next season. They grabbed Jalen Ramsey to try to make a last ditch effort this year. Casey Hampton, their best defensive interior player, is 35 or 36. It's just really old, and it's going to mean their young guys have to step up and fill in. And it's always different being the third best guy than the first and facing double teams versus, getting people's leftovers. So I'm not sure the defense is there. The offense, like we mocked it, the weapons aren't there. They have DK Metcalf, and they need a whole new set of receivers. Who knows what that's going to look like? Kenneth Gainwell looked good at RB, but I don't want that. I feel like that's not my answer to a problem. So
I do think they got 3 good tight ends, though. talk about the position you need.
yeah, Pat Freiermuth came out today, I think, and is like, I'm not saying I'm unhappy, but like I thought I could use the ball a bit more, and he's making $12 million a year. It's just for once, I feel like their team can actually be torn down and get to under 5 wins. But if Tomlin was there, he might make it function and make it like good enough to not get a high draft pick. Of course, Steelers are going to tank next year, get a coach they like, and get a top 5 pick when the quarterbacks are going to be good in 27. And I bet you Browns are going to go 9-8, and we're not going to get a good quarterback, and we'll be living on Shador. Anyways, so yeah, I'm with you. We can go through our job rankings if we get if you want to at some point after we talk about the Dolphins. But Steelers job, I think, is typically right. That's a 20-year job that we've seen. I think it's a red flag at the moment because I think you're going to have 2 or 3 really bad years. And while they figure out who they are, you're going to be the scapegoat at some point.
Well, we can talk about that, but I am on the exact opposite side of Phil on this one, where I think it's a 20-year job, and I think that the owners are like, hey, it's a 20-year job. I think that they will absolutely understand, like, hey, yeah, so you're in Pittsburgh, you need to win. You're probably not going to win for a year or 2. We're kind of do this blow up thing that we, probably should have done 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And knowing the Steelers, it's something that'll reboot real quick. If they get a good culture guy. If what they need is just someone who understands and expects wins. So if they get that guy, I don't think that they need like the fancy new like offensive coordinator, like guru guy. I don't think that that's type. I think more of like classic Steelers hard-nosed defense guy is more so like the way to go for the team.
I will say, Brian Flores is a man linked to the job due to ties there a few years ago when he was kind of blackballed by the rest of the NFL for, tanking or not tanking and getting yelled at by the Dolphins owner and reporting it. He would be a fit. Like if they got him, I don't think he would be someone who would be thrown out quickly, but just depends on how good of candidate they get is the bottom line. There's a lot of candidates I wouldn't like there too. So we'll just see what happens. I'll laugh so hard if they replace Tomlin with Harbaugh, though. That would be the funniest scenario. Or if the Ravens replace Harbaugh with Tomlin. Either way.
I think it'd be great. Honestly, those are not bad spots for either of those guys, except for the fact that they just played each other for 2 decades.
I know all the Steelers secrets.
What do you think about Vance Joseph there? I think that Vance Joseph doesn't get enough credit for what he's done, and he's completely turned around this Denver team. I mean, they have some talent on that side, but they've really outplayed how they've done. He has not looked that great as a head coach before, but and just in terms of running, like that, like hard defensive mentality in Pittsburgh just seems to be a good fit.
If he can get a good OC with him, obviously it might be different.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think of his time in Denver when he's like, dude, I have a top 5 defense year after year, and they just couldn't do anything. I mean, his quarterbacks, I just pulled it up, were Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch, and then the next year, let's see, I think they might. Yeah,
you just
Case
named
Keenum.
like the USFL like rosters for quarterbacks.
But yeah, Case Keenum was his other quarterback. So, big flaws there. If you're committed to him, like my biggest fear here is just like I said, it's going to be 2 or 3 years. You're not going to have a quarterback. You're not going to have answers, and you're going to get the standard of, well, Tomlin won 6 games. Tomlin won 7 games, or you're going to tank next year, get the first round quarterback, and then you're going to hear, well, Tomlin won 7 games. Why aren't you winning 7 games with our rookie quarterback? So I'm curious how much of a blow up they do, and if they don't blow it up, like you're kind of, in my opinion, operating on like 2 timelines where you're going to be aging people out right as you need to start paying your quarterback. So we'll just see. I hope they blow it up. Like they seem, they don't seem like an organization that would, but they seem like they're at a good point where they could sell their assets and just revamp this team on the fly.
And you already know when good teams like blow it up, it doesn't take 5 years to, look like a brand new team. Especially good organizations, they do it in like 2.
So to test your theory on if they're a good organization still, I'm just going to pull up their draft picks recently. The Steelers. I mean,
Steelers.
They had Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round. By the way, funny story. Will Howard, 6th rounder. My friend at work who does cards and buys and sells them, he got like a Will Howard, and he's like, damn, like why do I care about this backup quarterback, 6th round rookie? He got a message from a guy who was a Steelers and Ohio State fan offering him to pay him 5x the value for it. So for the record, this was like a $20 card that he got $100 for. But he's like, I just traded a $20 card for $100 on something that I thought would sit in the bottom of my drawer and just like disappear at some point. So huge return. So not great for the Steelers. Great for my friend at work. But like,
I like Will Howard, man. Give him a shot.
I'm just looking, and they spent a lot of picks on their O-line. Their O-line came through. They spent a lot of picks on their D-line. They know it's getting old. We'll see if they pay off this year. I'm not seeing a lot of super impressive from people they've drafted. That is my only thing. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Anyways.
They're the Steelers.
Kenny
I
Pickett,
think
George
they'll be
Pickens,
fine.
never forget. Last time they tried to save their roster.
And then George Pickens looks fine, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
DK Metcalf out there dropping balls. That's all I saw.
I think you need to remind me every single offseason that DK Metcalf is like really good at what he does, and that is not being a number 1 receiver. I think he's good at contested catches, and he's good at running fast, and he's good at like deep balls. But in terms of, he just can't separate. He does not have a full route tree, and he's limited as a receiver.
He's very limited. I don't say he's a bad number 1, but he needs a number 2.
I think he's at best a 1B.
I'll get that. Yeah, perfect. That's a fine way to put it. I'd rather have T. Higgins than him, but I think I'd put him right after that T. Higgins group, where it's like, if you're my number 1, I need someone working the middle of the field, because you can't do that. Like, I don't want T. Higgins running slants and stuff like that, but I still want T. Higgins and DK Metcalf at this point.
I think he's underrated, but like, I would take Cortland Sutton over DK Metcalf at this point.
I think you're right. That's painful
And
because
it's
we hate Cortland
boring
Sutton
and it
here.
sucks, and I hate Cortland Sutton, but I think he's more well-rounded of a receiver.
All right, that's enough of them. Dolphins. Get rid of Mike McDaniel. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's a terrible move. I thought he was terrible at the beginning of the year. They showed innovation and creativity towards the end of the year. And I currently think you lose Tyreek Hill, your team gets better. Like, I don't think it's Tyreek Hill's fault. I think it's more so that they just adjusted and made better plays without him. Their defense definitely stepped up a lot, but at the same time, I don't know what you were expecting of that team. And if your only hope is to get someone who's going to salvage Tua for like, or you're going to attempt to salvage Tua and bring him back to like what he was the first couple of years with McDaniel, I don't know who's going to come up with a better scheme for him specifically than Mike McDaniel did. I think this guy, maybe not a head coach, but definitely should be at least an OC somewhere. So, what are your thoughts?
So I completely, I don't want to say completely agree. They went 6-4 to end of the year, 5-3, more so at the end. And yeah, they fell off quite a bit when they decided to start Quinn Ewers, because it's Quinn Ewers, who was a sixth or seventh round draft pick. Was he seventh? Was he behind Will Howard? I think
I
so.
think so.
But I mean, the big problem is, I think this was more of a Tua problem. I think that Mike McDaniel really set up an offense for Tua, and you start to get injuries. And I mean, Tyreek and Waddle looks a whole lot different than Waddle and who's at Washington there. I mean, they've really, really overused their tight ends in the middle. I know they did that last year with Jonnu Smith as well. But, and yeah, Achan looked fantastic because I think he's just a fantastic player. But they had always missed an offensive line. They did their best with a quarterback who does not throw the ball well downfield. And I mean, I think they tried to make it work as best they could. I don't necessarily think it was an offense issue. I think this is the McDaniel is not a he's a football nerd. He's not a football head coach. He's hard. It was as soon as the team faces some adversity, I saw like a lot of like the team like quit on him. Then when they started changing things up again, second half of the year kind of came back around. It's weird to see a team like do bad at the beginning, have their star player get hurt, do decent towards the end. I know that the schedule was a little bit weak. And I mean, if they don't bench Tua, they might steal one of those other games instead of going, 5-3 at the end, maybe 6-2. And I mean, I think, what was their record at the end of the year? Was it 8-9?
7-10.
Oh, 7-10. Yeah. So, but I do think that McDaniel in general is just better suited as an offensive coordinator. I'm a big fan of picking up, there are teams that pick up offensive coordinators from previous like failed head coaches. So now McDaniels can just do the offense and scheme up, maybe have someone like a little less limited. He made Tua a lot of money. That's really what he did.
Do you think, would you want McDaniel for the Browns? Obvious connection there. Already interviewed for the job, and I think Kelce or Robin Hood Markets has him as the favorite. Kelce has him
Really?
at
The
40%
favorite?
to get the job at the moment. Yep.
I don't, mainly because he's just he's too similar to Stefanski. I don't think that that's necessarily the type of coach that we need. I would want him as an OC. I'd really like him as an offensive coordinator. I just don't want him as a head coach.
Yeah, completely agree. I think he is 100% one of the guys you pair with a good DC and hope that you can keep his brain power in 2 or 3 years once he leaves your team to go be a head coach somewhere.
I don't know. The difference with that, I know we've talked about it, and that's what happens when offensive coordinators do well. But he was catastrophically bad with his press conferences. He was like too like nonchalant with losing, and I think it's just kind of what he like tried to like put off as, and it just was not. I think it was pretty off putting as a head coach. He needs to, coordinators are best like seen and not heard, and I think that he just suits that way better. I do think he does have a good offensive mind. I do always tend to root for his offenses. I mean, that team, like, I mean, it was built on speed. I mean, Achan, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, like, I mean, top tier speed all around. And I mean, he made it work for the better part of his time there.
All right. So that covers all the new job postings. My opinion, their bottom half job postings, like I would expect top candidates, Tomlin if he's interested, Harbaugh. Um, People aren't going to say Stefanski. I would say Stefanski to gravitate towards the Ravens, the Giants, the Falcons, um, and just see where they end up.
So, and we talked about this a little bit last week. I'm higher on that Raiders job than you. Now, I mean, let's face it, coaches like fancy toys. They want a nice looking roster. The Ravens have a 2-time MVP at quarterback. I mean, that's slam dunk, going to be the best. The Giants, they flash potential. If you're not going to get, an MVP or stud quarterback, you might as well get an stud level wide receiver. And the Giants have that. I mean, coming off an ACL, but hey, he's young and that's going to recover. And same thing at Atlanta. They have some pretty nice toys over there. Vegas, Brock Bowers, Ashton Jency, two very, very, very good players at very, very replaceable positions, and a number one pick. Talk about, hey, there could be anything. It could be a boat. That's the Raiders with the number one pick, I feel.
That's so funny. Like I'm over here like, yeah, dude, I'm not sold on like give me the number one pick. And that's the best situation. Like I've seen Dart play 17 games. I think he can play football if he just doesn't put his head into people's chests. And but I guess, yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, guys, this draft pick, what if someone wants to trade us 3 picks for Mendoza? Like that, that's not outside the realm of possibility after what Mendoza's showing in college.
I think so. I think that the Titans could have gotten something like that for Cam Ward. Yeah, let's go back. Yeah. How would that look? How would that have looked this year? Except for the Titans were like, guys, we're taking Cam Ward and we're not changing this whatsoever. Because if Cam Ward turns into, I mean, you name it, and really any playoff quarterback besides Jalen Hurts because we trashed him too much. I mean, you're happy like that with that number one pick. I mean, if they like Mendoza, great. If they don't, you get a haul of draft picks. Oh yeah, they also have a DN that's not replaceable. Max Crosby, top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
At the most important position on defense. So I like that one a little bit higher. But right after that, I have the Steelers job because they don't have those fancy toys. They have those fancy toys, but they're like the 2015 version. Those models they are old. They still look kind of cool, but they're just not running the same way that they should. But there's just a certain level of the Steelers culture. There's, like I said, they've had 3 coaches since that was the 70s and 2 since 92. There's a whole different winning culture. Just a different setup, different atmosphere. Yes, there's different expectations with that as well. But I think that is a very highly valued, highly respected job in the NFL. If you talk about, hey, Browns position or Steelers position, I think that any coach, anyone who's been interested in coaching, who's spent their life in football goes, yeah, I'm going with the Steelers.
If you could be the quarterback of the Packers or the quarterback of the Browns, which would you choose?
We've kind of already
just
talked about this. It's the Packers.
Does that make you a better quarterback?
Yeah, for sure.
Damn it. The point is,
a lot of quarterback is around who. Wait. A lot of being a good quarterback is around who you're surrounded with. Good upper management, good coaching, good line, good receivers, all of this. Coaching, a lot of what you're around. And I think that it's good upper management. It's good, just a good atmosphere, something where you're going to be supported. And I think that is there in Pittsburgh. What's not there are any of the fancy toys because they've messed up draft picks.
My point is they've hit on Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin for sure. Home run, Hall of Fame coaches. Maybe not Tomlin. Close. Like you can't be like a coach who.
I think you could.
You can't ever go under not 500 for 20 years, and like I feel like
he won a Super Bowl.
Hall of Fame for that, and win a Super Bowl, of course. But like, what if they just hire the wrong guy? You're just like here, and it's like how many of these coaches are going to pan out, right? I think part of the stability that you see is because they hired the right guy twice. And I'm not sure if the coaches, like the prime ones, are looking and saying, I want to go to the Steelers at the moment, right?
Okay,
You got Big Ben when you were Tomlin and you walked in. Like, of course I want that job.
I'll give you one where if the Steelers and the Ravens were not in the same division, I think Harbaugh goes to the Steelers. Complete hypothetical, and guess what? We're never going to know, Phil. So don't tell me you know. But
Harbaugh's like, he's 63. By the time they have a coach, he'll be 65. Or by the time they have a quarterback, he'll be 65.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll looked great. Pete Carroll.
If I'm Harbaugh, I want to go someplace I can make a bigger impact immediately. Like, it's why I'm like Flores just seems like way too perfect a fit. Kelce has odds at Chris Shula, 40% right now. That seems way too high. I guess his yes is 40%, his no's 70%. So math doesn't really work out.
I'm not going off Kelce here, guys.
Shula should not go there. Like, I do not want Sean McVay in Pittsburgh. The math doesn't math that way, if that makes sense.
I don't think a football nerd type of guy, I don't think a McDaniel type fits in there. I don't think a Clint Kubiak, fits in. That's why they got Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. Like, it's not about like modern football to them.
They signed up for misery because intentionally.
It's because that style just is not Pittsburgh Steelers style. And it's just, it won't be.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's too big of a mess. And I think it's a big risk for a coach to take. It's so funny because I have the Titans ahead of them. That's like really the only one that I would argue for. And that's because I think the Titans were stable for a long time with Vrabel. They shook everything up and created chaos. Like, they changed their GM. They were overreacting to losing. It's like, you guys didn't have a good roster. Brian Tannehill was winning. Like, you guys weren't good. You were lucky. And they shook it up. And now the dust has settled a little bit. As long as they get a coach that is not like, I had no hope in the OC from, I can't remember his name, but he was the OC at the Bengals going down there to Tennessee and coaching.
Callahan?
They have a quarterback in Cam Ward. I've liked what I've seen out of him. I thought he's a good player. And they need like almost everything else. It's really bad. But at least you go in knowing that you have the one thing you need and that you can start throwing resources. You don't have to worry about giving up 2 first rounders and a second rounder to go move up in the draft and get your guy at quarterback, that is.
I mean, that's a lot of faith in Cam Ward there. But honestly, if you get a quarterback, I think that the quarterback is worth 45% of like the interest in a roster coming in. Franchise guys are franchise guys. They are there for, over a decade potentially. And that's just the most important position by far. I think that like that's the, when you're looking at these teams, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, they have a 45% lead on everybody else to start. That's why that position's so good. And that whole, it's so important. That's why that number 1 pick and maybe Mendoza is worth something. I gotta disagree with the Titans because I'm not sold on. I mean, it's not like there's a lot going on, and Cam Ward looked a little better towards the end of the year, but he looked pretty bad for most of the year. And it wasn't just him; it was their special teams, it was their defense. They have a good D tackle. They have an All-Pro D tackle, Jeffrey Simmons, and that is it.
How many times did you send me a message? Cam Ward's ripping balls left and right and smacking people in their face masks, and they're ending on the ground.
A lot of bad quarterbacks do
that. No, but I don't know. I think in general the situation it just looks more bleak than it. Like, they literally don't. I don't think they have an NFL receiver on roster. Like DK and Alik Ayumanar. I'm probably pronounced that wrong.
Eric Ayumanar,
I don't think they're good. They are definitely like back end rotation guys on a pro team.
They got a good kick returner. My bad. They have a good kick returner.
Defensively, yeah, like you said, they have a couple players, but that's it. They need to revamp everything is the bottom line. But I
But
think
you still
that
like that job more than the Steelers. The
yeah,
perennial
absolutely.
playoff
Because
winning
I think the
culture.
Steelers have the trouble of you're not going to do better than Tomlin did with this unit, right? But you're committed to this unit for the next 2-ish years, right? Between Watt and Ramsey, and they're old and they're aging and they're expensive and nobody wants like people would trade for TJ Watt, but his contract makes him untradeable. Nobody's going to want Jalen Ramsey. Uh, like Cam Hayward might just decide to be like, I'm done. Tomlin's out. Like I'm old. I've made a lot of money,
I can see that.
but I don't. Their offense needs to be completely redrawn and revamped with new
Besides their tight
players.
ends, they got great tight ends.
Add Adam Thielen, baby. Like there's so much that needs to be done to improve it. I think they're gonna be a team that comes out with like a good O line, a solid run game next year, and a quarterback that just is like no good, like Mason Rudolph or something like that.
It's Will Howard. Will Howard.
Will Howard, and then just accept defeat. And that's why I'm like, okay, so you're losing a year, and then when you start to actually get your players in, you're gonna have to revamp the defense because it's gonna be disappearing.
I think if they get one of those, like someone they actually want, like if they get a Flores or
Mm-hmm.
I like Vance Joseph there. I just tough defense guy. But if you get someone like that, they go, hey, this is a 5-year position. You have 5 years to get this right because we're the Steelers. Just get it right. I think I just think it's a whole different mentality and atmosphere.
And that requires you to get the quarterback right. That's a crapshoot.
Not for the Steelers, man. No,
Not for
they've
the
actually had really
Steelers.
bad. They've had really bad quarterback luck since Roethlisberger. So
Yeah.
I have a patient that's a Steelers fan. He goes, they were joking on the Pittsburgh radio where they were saying, guys, we're gonna have to start that damn Browns jersey and just after Roethlisberger and just start going through.
See, like I don't know. That's why I'm like Cam Ward. You're committed to him for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, try. I got 3 years as a coach. Got my guy that I'm going to be playing with for sure. No stability, and I know he can at least play NFL football. All right, we were way over time. You didn't think we would talk long.
My 30 minutes was way off. Yeah.
Yeah, I told you. I had a lot to talk about, and I liked like the wild card round was really exciting. Talking about the matchups and the heartbreak for some. RIP 49ers. Like literally, RIP you guys. Can't wait to come back. Fred Warner apparently is. I hope he doesn't play. Is that
No,
bad?
no, no. He's trying to play in the NFC Championship. So like 2 weeks from now. Okay, fine. You can try. What sucks with Kittle is done for the next year. He's done the rest of this year, obviously, and next year with that ACL.
You don't think 49ers playoffs he could play?
At 33, I really hope he wouldn't.
Okay.
Kittle might, but like, I mean, and coming back from an Achilles at that age, he does turn into like, nobody likes Kittle more than me. He is my favorite player in the NFL. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say that, but he turns from dynamic playmaker at tight end to not Jason Witten. Honestly, he could turn into Hunter Henry. Like, hey, good clutch receiver, limited in the yak that he's been so like
What he's famous
so
for.
good at. Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks. Damn.
Still could be a really good blocker.
All right. Then do you remember the game he came back? I can't remember who they played, but like Christian McCaffrey went off for like 100 plus yards. It was the first game of the year he did that. And Kittle's like, I'm sorry, I got no targets and no catches, but did you see our run game? It was awesome. Like very, very impactful there still. All right. So you have our picks for the divisional round. You have our takes on coaching. We'll be commenting on everything going forward.
I'm so sorry if you're still here.
Dude, no, we were 145 last week. Everyone should be here for this one. Hopefully the pacing and stuff is better here. JJ Watt rookie card. No one cares. Thanks for listening.